Welcome to the Breakfast Club, where industry leaders come together to explore strategies, spark ideas, and turn insight into action. In this Breakfast Club session, an industry leader shares what happened when she dug into her gym's retention data and uncovered nearly $1 million in lost revenue. From first impressions to long-term loyalty, she breaks down the 6 key stages of the customer journey and the strategies she's using to stop churn and drive growth. We now welcome Lynn Ledford.
Okay, let me move this out of my way. This is, some of you have seen this. This is where I live and work. And in that corner office there, every year I try to come up with something new that interests me to study. And recently I have been studying retention. So the way this started is I went back and looked at our flywheel, and you're probably familiar with the flywheel. And I really wanted to evaluate every step of our operation to see how we were doing. And so what this brought me was, I looked at, are we attracting students? Of course, we use all these strategies, all of our social media, our website, drive-by. I looked at all that, basically, how were we doing marketing wise? And we were pretty strong there. We were definitely bringing people in. And the next stage on my flywheel, and I have a 6-part flywheel, is I looked at engagement. And for me, this is the customer biting. Are they reading on? Are they inquiring? Are they asking friends about us? And so this, in order for that stage to work, I feel we need to be compelling and we need to be credible. The third stage on my flywheel that I studied was, are we converting? Are people choosing a program? Are they actually selecting a class? Are they putting that credit card information? Are they getting the kids dressed and packing the car, and are they showing up? In order to get this far, your program, what you have put out, needs to be valued, something they want to do, and that process of getting them involved needs to be seamless. So I spent some time looking at that. Now it gets a little bit harder for us. This is what I always call the first date. They actually show up, and how did we do on that first date? What was our first impression? Did we do a good job, with our customer service and welcoming them? Was our brand story true? Was what we put out and hooked them on, was it what they saw and felt and experienced when they came in? Were we professional? Was the class good? So all of those things matter on that first date, which to me means your systems are working and you have the resources you need to impress people. The next stage was retention. This means we survived that first date, and how do we do thereafter? This is the hard stage, and it's a really great topic for you in your breakfast club, which, by the way, I love that. That's awesome. In order to survive the retention game, you have to have a really high level of competency. Your big systems have to be working. Your curriculum has to be fantastic. It has to be brought all the way down to the ground level. Your systems for outcomes have to be in place. In other words, how do you know how you're doing in the classroom and in your billing systems and in your customer service? How are you studying that and tracking it and making corrections? And of course, you have to have systems for retaining kids. So to be successful in the retention stage in the flywheel, you have a certain level of maturity and you have a certain level of human capital. You have good people. And then, of course, the goal is for us to get to that advocacy stage where our customers become our ambassadors, our students, everyone who works for us, people that walk into our facility and our community, they're doing the good work for you and helping this flywheel to spin and doing that marketing for you. So in this cute font, you see the way that I was hoping that it would work is that the wheel is spinning and we are preserving this beautiful energy, and we have this harmonious momentum, and really it is an if only realization. It's a really tough game to win the retention problem. So here's where I landed for my study. I knew that we had some shocking and true situations out there, and I thought we could find some big and little solutions. So I was excited to share my experiences with Chris and with you all, and thanks for asking me to be here. Here are some numbers I asked for in December. And, a lot of times when I look at these numbers, I think, God, these kind of look like enrollment numbers, but they're not. These were drop numbers, 1,650 drops. Now, you can study retention in a myriad of ways, but it's really more compelling when you look at it over the course of a year. When you look at it monthly, the numbers are small and not so scary. When you look at it at the end of the year, you literally want to throw up, or at least I did. So yes, those were drops for us. We had in December 2,300 students enrolled. That's our total enrollment, and you saw that number. So for me, our flywheel tension is clearly I mean, our flywheel of tension is clearly in the retention area. We had a good number of students, we were making money, but I didn't like that number. Now, there's all kinds of formulas for studying retention. This is one. And then there's all kinds of formulas, and this is the basic one, for studying churn. And there are two different factors. And then what you end up with really depends on what you're putting into that. I hear people say, oh, I have a 2% retention rate. And I just want to say we're counting different numbers. No matter what your formula is, it's super important that you understand who you started with or how many kids you started with, how many you acquired, how many you lost, and what you ended up with. It's just a really, really important number for us. I also like to know, I appreciate churn, appreciate retention, but I really like to track individual students as well, but that's a whole other discussion. So how long on average are we keeping our students? I want to ask you, what do you think? Do you think, our average retention rate, is it 3 years? Is it 2 years? Is it 18 months, 30 months? When I ask people, and swim is worse, they think 2 years or 3 years. And I have to tell you that is not accurate. The only time you're going to get to numbers like that is if you're not counting first day attendees or people who drop and come back later, or maybe you're not counting people who drop one program and go into another program. And I always say it's like having three sisters, and sister A lost her boyfriend, but it's okay because that boyfriend dropped her and went to sister B. It's not, it's a drop. So we're pretty aggressive in what we count as drops, and we're pretty honest with ourselves on those retention numbers. Okay, so let's make some assumptions. I'm going to say, let's say our goal is we do want a 2-year retention strategy, that we want kids to stay on average of 2 years. That's really ambitious, but that's what we want to do. We're going to put together some numbers. And let's say that you enrolled 800 new students throughout the year. And let's say that we agree it costs money to bring in new students. And then for simple math, let's say that we have figured out that our average student brings us $100 a month between reg fees, a little bit of retail, or just tuition, whatever it is. Let's go with $100 a month. And I can't see this on my screen. Our average enrollment hovers around, did I say 1,500? What did I say there? Okay, we have a 2-year goal. Wish I could move this off my screen, but I can't. Okay, so of those 800 students, this is probably a very likely scenario. Probably 60 drop in the first month. That means that it wasn't for them. We get a lot of littles who drop in the first month. They have a bad first lesson perhaps, or it wasn't what they expected, or she ran around the whole time and mom says, she's just not quite ready. She's only 11 months old. We'll come back. And then about 100 will drop after the third month. They went for a few months, soccer started, it wasn't for them. And then it goes like this throughout. And by the end of 2 years, we probably have 620 of those original 800 that we signed up. So what does it cost us when a student drops? The easy low lying fruit is going to be the cost of that lead. And to expedite this, let's say you spent $80,000 on actual marketing. You guys, this is a number for us. This is a number that we are working on. We are really ridiculously low in our marketing spending, and it's a goal for us. We got lazy because we're mature. We have incredible word of mouth. It's not serving our business well now, and we are a little bit stagnant. Our profits go up every year, our net goes up every year, but really because we are increasing pricing, we have a lot of work to do in marketing. So when you see that number, I hope your number is much, much, much higher than that. I'm going to put in another $80,000 in acquisition. Is your number not higher than that? Is it lower than that? Sorry.
On a percent basis, everybody's going to be very different, right? We have small gyms, we have large gyms, so this looks really big to a lot of people.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Actually, I feel good about that. I'm going to tell you. Okay, that helps me. Okay, and then we spent about $80,000 on acquisition payroll. And so I have to count what it takes our marketing team to put those campaigns together. I have to count what it takes our billing systems to onboard those people. So I assigned that number. And then I also assigned a little bit of teaching payroll, because time is spent, about 1% is spent on working with those brand new incoming students. And sometimes we do special things like evaluations and what have you. So let's put a number of 192. So when I have $192,000 going out to get those 800 students, it's costing me $240 a lead. I say add marketing things trying to say, oh, this is a $10 lead. It's never a $10 lead. There's always a lot of costs behind the scenes that you have to attribute to get to those new students. So if I straight line amortize that, I'm spending over those 2 years $10 a month, and I want to earn that money back. If I spent $240 getting that kid, I want that kid to stay for 2 years so that I earn my lead cost money back. So remember, our little scenario is we enrolled 800 students over the years, 60 dropped in the first month. And what does that mean? That means that I only collected 1 month out of my 24 months. And if $240 is my lead cost and 60 of them drop, I lost that 14,000 plus in acquisition. I earned back 600, so basically I'm out almost $14,000. That was wasted money, me spending all that money acquiring those 60 kids when they just dropped within the first month. Since I want them to stay for 24 months, here's how that plays out. All along the way, when I don't keep them for my full 24 months, I lost $90,000 in acquisition spending. So for us, I don't like that at all, but that's not my really big scary number. What else happens to us? We lose revenue. And this is the number that shocked me. This is the number that really, really made me sick to my stomach. Remember, the goal is 2 years, 800 students. If a student had stayed 24 months with me, like I planned, I would earn in 2 years $2,400 off that student. When they drop early, like in the very beginning, I'm losing out of those 60 students $138,000 of potential revenue. Now, this is where it gets a little bit hard to swallow. And then I took it to the next one for you. The kids that dropped within the third month, I lost 21 months of revenue off of those 100 kids. They didn't stay the whole 2 years, $210,000 I would have made on them. And so here's how that plays out. It plays out to $900,000. Now, when I was presented with this, honestly, I'm like, you guys, I would know if I was missing $900,000. So none of these numbers work for me. This just isn't a real life situation. I would miss 900,000. And then we realize, what is this ride at Disneyland? It's a small world, right? And then this is the people mover. The people mover one car holds 16 people. Yet they move 46,000 riders a day. And how do they do that? Because kids and people are getting on that ride as quickly as they are getting off of it. So it's just a constant churn. So that is why I didn't notice that $900,000. And whatever your number is, it's going to be a number that makes you sick to your stomach. And it really just dissipates quite regularly because most of us are acquiring students about as quick as we're dropping them. And so I really wanted to know, how did we become a people mover? And I found myself quite annoyed by the whole prospect. So my goal was I needed to stop this churn. If I could even slow it down by 5%, that would help our company to grow a lot. So on a big, broad stroke, I knew we needed to pay attention to everything. I knew we needed to study our data, and I knew we had some changes to make. So here are the specific strategies that I have been utilizing. And this actually we've been doing for quite a while, and we've adjusted them here or there. And this is what we're going to talk about today. It's important to know who you are. Really super important to focus on enrolling people early. I wanted to work on highlighting the smart things that we're doing, not just doing smart things, but making sure the customer knows about them. We always need to be aware of things that we're doing that are cueing our customers to drop, and I call those transitions. More recently, I started focusing on how can I help our customer to think of us every day? How could I be an everyday part of their lives and not once a week? And then talking about customer service, what are we doing that really just tick our customers off? And then overall, a goal to be nicer. Being nicer has something that has taken me years to learn. Some of you were friends, I came to the industry as an attorney. Attorneys are not trained to be nice. I became an attorney because it was easy for me to think and behave that way. And it wasn't honestly until I became a mommy and I got into this industry that being nice became more natural to me. But boy, it's really good business to be nice. So if it's not your first go-to strategy, let your business head take over and let's work on being nice. So knowing who we are, we're an acro gym. We do not do artistic gymnastics past the entry levels. We're good at acro. It gives us a lot of attention, but this is not really who we are. We are performance. That's another discussion. We do like Cirque du Soleil for little kids. We put on very big productions, and that's who we are. We are also multi-venue. We are known for having a lot of programs in our facility. We are not this. I still love this picture. I still love this lady and all she's done in gymnastics. We don't do adults, for example. We know that's not us. We don't do weightlifting. There's a lot of things we don't do. I'm never going to market to this. We don't do a lot of boys gymnastics. And even this is not who we are. We are not high level. We are not artistic. This is who we are. That little girl in her cowboy boots, this little boy in his shorts on that fence. This is who we are. We are the everyday little gymnast. And we really like to power a childhood that is inspired by gymnastic lessons. So it's really important when I look at retention that I stay in my wheelhouse. I am not interested in trying to expand to everything under the sun. I can't do a good job with those programs, and I'm not going to retain them. In retention, age matters. That's my oldest granddaughter, Mika. We now have 8. Age is really important. We have learned when we look at who stays in our program the longest, like we often look at and study our drops. I want to encourage you as you study your retention to also look at who is staying and why. So you're probably going to look first to your team kids. You know, they've been with you a really long time. Chances are they started young. Also, though, and this is a team dancer, she started when she was 2. I also want you to look at your middles because in our team programs, why they help our retention numbers, we don't have as many of them. So, you know, you might have 50, 60, 70 kids on team, and we love those numbers of 8 or 10 years, but there's just not as a percentage of our operation, there's not as many of them. Your big retention gains are going to be with your middles. And so when you look at your middles, your kids who are 6, 7, and 8 years old, who have been with you for 5 or 6 years, your successful 6, 7, 8-year-olds will also have started when they were 2. It is critical to enroll kids early. And we know that is true because when a kid comes in at 7, what are their opportunities for staying a long time in your gym? If you have a really fantastic rec program, you might get them for a few years, but it's really hard to convert a 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11-year-old into a 10-year student. So enroll young, and we market toward this all the time, and we mean young. I remember when we started Weepies, and I laughed at what are we going to do with like a 9-month-old? We found things to do with those 9-month-old kids because we know in order to retain kids, our best bet is to enroll them early. So we work really hard at marketing toward even babies, and I mean babies. When they are born, we are trying to reach that mommy and daddy. So another strategy, enroll early, we like to highlight smart things. And we highlight that not just in marketing, but once we have them. Because marketing is, you guys are right, that's a low-hanging fruit. You've already talked about that. Getting kids in the door is a lot easier than keeping them. So once we get them in, we have to be really, really good with them. So for us, we continue to market and highlight with our existing students the developmental benefits of gymnastics. And that's a real story, and it's an easy one to tell. We continue to highlight our performance because that's who we are. And we continue to work really hard at being kind. So things like this is a marketing piece on visual tracking. Gymnastics, we know, helps kids visually track. So we put that in our marketing, and we also put it in our lesson plans. And as we're teaching this lesson here, we're going to point out to the parents that this is visual tracking. It's not just fun. We also talk about things like grit, and how great gymnastics is at teaching children to keep working. Here's a little piece.
I started studying kids and adults in all
it's true.
Super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? One characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality.
So that we highlight the importance of gymnastics in everything that we do. Okay, transitions. There's a lot of studies out there in and out of gymnastics that talk about the challenge of transitions that we present. In schools, we know kids in private schools are most likely to drop between kindergarten and first grade, fifth and sixth, and between eighth and high school, and that's because those are transition years. We have transitions in our business, and these are classic transitions. If you're putting out summer schedules, winter schedules, and fall, I would encourage you not to do that. Keep a perpetual year round. Watch out for move ups, make sure you don't cue that mom to say, okay, we've done what we meant to do. We've finished the preschool gymnastics program. We're really a soccer family. We're going to call it a day. So make sure if you're doing move ups and have graduations, you have an immediate, seamless lure to the next program. Big events, ask any dance studio after recital, everything just takes a dump. So be careful with your big events. We do age-based programming. Make sure it is seamless when they finish, for example, 4Ps, the class for 5Ps hopefully meets the same day, same time, things that make it easy. And then let's talk special about evaluations. iClass did a recent study, and it's a good one. 41% of drops occur within 2 weeks of an evaluation. I had to go and meet with them about this because this was a shocking stat to me, and it's a true stat. Now, what happens to occur is a lot of times we evaluate also at a transition, like at the end of the school year or at the end of a big event. So some of these drops might be in correlation with another cue to drop. What do you see here? You're all smart and you're not going to say the black dot. You're going to say, oh, I see a bunch of space with a black dot. But in reality, parents, when you send them an evaluation, they see that black dot only. They see that one thing that you said that wasn't complete sunshine and happiness, and it is hard for them. So I want to really encourage you, don't evaluate littles. We have evaluations for them, and we have them in our Sweet Peas program because some people want them, but we don't do it. I just don't think you need to do it with littles, and we are so trained to do it. It's such a hard thing for us not to do, and there's a gymnastics thing, a sports thing about, well, kids need to understand where they're at, and parents need to suck it up, and this is how we're going to help them learn. If you really feel you must do evaluations, and they do have a place with older kids and certainly with teen kids, man, be smart about it because people just can't take it. So any effort to give the good news and all that, know that it comes hand in hand with drops. This is our younger son, Grayson. He got married at our house. This is our family all lined up in front of the shed, and great. And here's what Grayson said to us during his vows. He said that when he met Kenna, he was just overwhelmed. He started his day thinking about her. He thought about her through the day, and he just wanted to be wherever she was before the day was over. And that really stuck with me. And I thought, I want that with my customers. I mean, I want my customers to be thinking about me more than just once a week. And we know in looking at our data, the more reasons you give them to think of you, the less likely they are to drop. So when we've looked at our retention, kids who are taking classes 3 times a week are less likely to drop than the once a week kid. Someone that we've moved up to a squad class or an invite class or a team class, less likely to drop. Kids who are having their parties at the gym, less likely to drop. Now, what comes first, the egg or the chicken? Could be they're having their party because they like us. They're less likely to drop. But we also know that having had a party changes their molecular structure of how they think about us. They have, during those 2 hours, been our advocate. And they have been telling all their friends about our program and showing them, touring them the gym. And that makes them less likely to drop. If they're coming to open gym, if they're taking multiple classes, if they're signing up for camp, if they're in our shows, if their brothers and sisters are in our program, we should be striving to do all these things, not let it happen passively, but to encourage our students to do these. These are retention builders. Special days will help your families to think of you. There is a National Ice Cream Day. We hired a truck. We spent $1,500 on ice cream. They took a ton of photos. Those were exciting days for the kids. They liked that. Hire a Santa. Take pictures, put those pictures up. Every time they walk by that refrigerator, they're thinking of you, just like my son Grayson's thinking of his daughter. Special parties like Easter events. Every month we have something up in the lobby. On Valentine's Day, we put this banner up. It was a terrible picture, but parents and especially mommies were taking pictures with their baby there. And they post it. This is not just good marketing, it's reinforcing their connection with us. It's a retention strategy. These parents are already in our gym. I don't need to market to them to come to our gym. I want to reinforce our relationship with them. All right, the quack is back. We have this in swimming. There's a rubber ducky day, and there's a lot of fun things you can do that will make your kids think about you. National Superhero Day. Let's all dress up and have fun with that. I want them thinking of us on National Superhero Day. There's National Lollipop Day. We now are getting branded lollipops, by the way, but this is where we started. All right, another retention strategy is just brand the crud out of everything. So your building needs to look like you. Again, it's not a marketing strategy. They're already in the building, but when they're there, I'm constantly reinforcing that brand. Also, don't let wasted opportunities become wasted opportunities. If you're going to have a bounce house, these people don't need your help with their branding. You need to have a bounce house that brands your business and reinforces who you are. I happened to walk in on this party at one of our Sweet Peas location, and I loved everything about how we were reinforcing who we were. But this bounce house, this was a Sweet Peas bounce house. So brand it, make it yours. Let them think of you constantly. I like that someone panicked when they were getting ready for swimming the day before their swimming lesson because their child couldn't find their Cal Elite swimsuit. So the day before, the night before, I'm on their mind because they're looking for their swimsuit. Remember, my goal is to get them to think of me all through the week. This is how I establish that connection. So we do a lot of branded wear. Nike does not need our help. Cal Elite does. And kids don't really care about Nike. They really, surprisingly to me years ago, are happy to rep our brand. So we brand the crud out of literally everything. I started branding soccer balls because I got tired of them getting kicked over the fence and losing them. But really now, a few years smarter, I realized I'm making them think of me all the time. I got tired of losing pens, branded them. When they take them home and they go to the bank, they whip that pen out that they accidentally took and they're going to think of me. So it's really important that we brand so that they are loving us and thinking of us. And by the way, it's not too hard to get custom leotards. We work with Destira. They're a little bit more expensive. You do have to order in bulk, but this is my Sweet Peas. I have them for Cal Elite as well. You can get your own brand. I'm surprised at how many gyms put out certificates that are just like a little square. They look like an office supply certificate. Please make sure those go home. Your customer's going to look at them for days afterwards. Make sure they really make them think of you. Don't ever give out another generic trophy again. Get them customized with your name on them. So when they're looking at that trophy and they're showing grandma and grandpa, they are thinking of you. Same thing with your equipment. I originally started branding equipment because I got tired of mostly social media superstars in our Orange County and LA locations working too hard to take a picture that didn't have our brand in it. So I made it impossible for them to take a picture in our gym without catching our brand. But also, besides that marketing, I'm constantly reinforcing with our customers who we are, where they're at, and who their gym is. This was our first shipment of branded equipment. It was a really fun thing. I also am a fan of creating content that you give hands in hand to customers. So we do newsletters. We do it for swimming as well. We do it for all of our programs. So once a month, we're going to talk to our parents about what we're doing in the class, and it's going to be branded. And it's going to give them a reason to think of us, and hopefully they share it with their spouse or they take a look at it or a friend. Part of the Being Nice campaign for retention, make sure you are not just buying something at Target, but you create some custom-made branded cards. You can print these at work. In fact, they're really expensive to get professionally printed. So we always print them at work, and I don't care if they don't look quite as dialed in or not the same shiny paper. In fact, maybe even it's better. So I want to encourage you to create some custom thank you cards. try to give a stack of 20 to 30 to every team member, every coach, and encourage them to use them. And we really have enjoyed that. There's no sense branding or encouraging a relationship with Disney in your store. Disney doesn't need our help. So if you go out there, whatever your brand is, maybe you have some characters. I have not created custom Cali stars or custom sweet pea stuffies. I have created characters of animals that go with our brand, and I have found existing lines that work with our brand. So sweet peas, there happens to be a Manhattan toy company that has a sweet pea brand. So I stock those in my store. They have a little book called the Sweet Pea Book. It's a sensory book. They think it's me, so they love it and they buy it, and it makes them think of me. There's this really cute little pea in the pod toys to the right. So these are some toys that I found in the open marketplace that happen to align with my brand. I'm sure there are some out there that align with your brand. If not, then I would look at my brand and say, I need to bring in something that is adoptable, that is relatable to kids. So we had these characters that we did. Also, anything that we use in our classroom that might not be brand specific, we put in our retail store because they buy it. And so they really, really like these toys with Infantino that we use, put them on the beam. So I started stocking them in the store. It's good for retail, but it also, when they play with them at home, makes them think of us. So that whole little section was about you want them thinking of you as many times as possible throughout the week. Now, let's talk about why do kids drop? The low-hanging fruit there is, oh, they're making more friends, they're growing up, or maybe they're not progressing, or they're doing other things. All of these things are true, but I just have to say, we know the number one reason is they're not having fun. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This should be one of your whole separate discussions. There's a lot of studies now, good ones that came out in 2024 that have reaffirmed what we already know. But we can't just say this in passing. There's a lot of in-house training on how things can be fun and mistakes that coaches make that make it not fun. There's a lot of studies that draw about body perception, comments teachers make, not understanding child development. There's a lot of reasons why. Let's spend a few minutes though on triggers for parents. These are things when I asked why, and I encourage you to do a study why kids are dropping. You should have that in their drop requests. Too many subs comes up all the time. So we have to solve that. One solve that we did is, instead of putting junior coach floaters out in our busy times, we took a manager off each shift in the afternoon and gave them a time off from classes. Didn't like it at first. So Jamie, who's our superstar, Jamie doesn't teach, let's say, Tuesday afternoons. That means we're losing about 100 kids that she could teach, because she teaches a lot of kids. Instead, she is the floater. So if everybody shows up, she goes out and mentors and adds to classes. She talks to parents. But what's really great is if someone doesn't show up and we have to have a sub, we put Jamie out there and we're not going to get complaints. Those parents are okay with that sub. Parents complain that there's no class openings, and it's tempting to say there's 67 open spots in 2Ps, but you can't argue with them. Try to make sure your schedule is as optimum as possible. My bill is not right. We have to be seamless. We can't have billing mistakes. It makes people mad. If someone's on the cusp, that's going to be more ammunition. Anything that is policy heavy is a negative for parents. I hope nobody is doing late fees. I saw a financial report yesterday that had a $29 late fee, and it took me 30 minutes to hunt that down, and it was someone in preschool ed who decided to start charging late fees for every minute you are late, and it's just ridiculous. No makeups, another whole discussion. We have learned that the retention benefits of a very generous makeup policy have more than paid for the cost of offering makeup. So I always encourage people. I see so much on our gymnastic pages about how angry people get about having to do makeups or why they don't want to do it. And I just really want to encourage you to, I don't know how to say it, but outgrow that. They complain there's no makeups, or they complain there's a kid doing makeups in their class. You can't, it's hard to have it both ways. We certainly need to be answering the phone at Cali, even if we have 5 people at the front desk. There are going to be times when that phone rings because we're helping people at the front desk. This is a hard one to solve. I've tried to do answering things that have stories that keep people busy on the phone while we get to them, and they don't like that either. So the best thing is to try to solve as many things online and reduce your number of calls, make your operations seamless so that they're not needing to have you face-to-face all the time. They don't like things, and we'd change this one. We sell tickets. I used to love watching show ticket day because the line would go around the gym. No one liked it but me. So we are going to online ticket sales, even though it costs more money. Credit card fees, they're always going to complain about that. I encourage you to build it into the cost of your program. There's no sense highlighting it and charging a separate fee. Can't have teachers who are rude. Those people need to be weeded out. I've never been able to train a rude person not to be rude. If you have a secret for that, I would love to know. Usually I just tolerate them as long as I can and eventually get rid of them after they've done damage through the years. A child not progressing, another big topic. Parents don't like it when they feel their child is not progressing, and they don't like it when they think someone else's kid is progressing. So those speak to curriculum and training. Your facility not being clean, gyms are notorious for this. This happens to be one of my hot buttons. We are good at it. I can't tell you how many people who we have got as customers because some of our competitors are not that good at it. So really, this is an important retention point. While they want the gym clean, they don't like it if it smells like it just got cleaned. So that's just something we've learned to live with. To smell clean, we got better after COVID. It's going to smell sometimes like cleaning products. Not being safe. We had 2 incidents this year. We've had none for years, and we had 2, both involved the same coach. We felt after careful analysis that it was our fault and that our training was lacking there. So if there's something that isn't safe or the parent doesn't feel is safe, it goes back to training. They get mad at us and complain on their drop list that they get tired of being told they're not allowed to play here or play there. They have multiple kids. What can their kids do while they're watching our classes? Well, the one right before that was safety. We do have a gentle blend of that. We've decided not to over police things that probably are perfectly safe if it's not interfering with our business, but that is something that parents don't like. They don't like it if we're too crowded. So all we can do there is to try to avoid the appearance of that. Things that cause bad traffic flow. If your traffic flow is bad, you're going to look too crowded even if you're not. If your gym is noisier than it needs to be, you're going to appear to be too crowded even if it's not. If things are on the floor that don't need to be there, lost and found drives me crazy. Boxes of stuff that didn't get put away. Your gym should not be more crowded than it needs to be. You can't solve that you have a busy operation, but you can solve the things that make you look busier or less organized. They don't like it when they get dropped for non-pay. I cannot solve that. They don't like that we don't do a lot of private lessons. Again, that's really not who we are. We just don't do a lot of that. They get mad at us if they can't find their item in lost and found. That's also hard for us to solve. We've learned the be nice strategy is it. Try to help them find it. All right, I'm running out of time. I did want to tell you, I'm going to keep going and you just shut me off when you need to. I made a copy of this and put a link at the end. Okay, I'm close to being done. Be nicer. Here's some of the easy, nicey things. Say hello, compliment, give balloons. These are things that we all should be doing. These are some other ideas. Anytime you move a kid up, that's actually a nice thing. Let's not be stingy with that. One year we gave all of our team kids a free birthday. We looked up how much they spent with us throughout the years. It was an easy decision. And at that time, there was like 35 of them. And some of them didn't do it. They were 18 and 17, and they weren't going to have their party with us, or not the kind of party that we wanted them to have. But it was still a successful thing. We always sell 15 tickets to our event for the front row, but we have 17. If something goes wrong, I can always offer a front row seat to a mom and dad and help solve that. One of our favorite things we did is older kids who come to camp always feel goofy. We made junior coach shirts special for them. So they didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm 13, my mom won't let me stay at home alone. Now we put them to work for us and their parents paid for that camp. We just gave them a special shirt. The toy chest, like the dentist, is nice. Photo booths, nice. A video welcome from coaches takes some work, but it can be done. So each coach creates their own video welcome. When a kid signs up, you email it to them so they get a personal welcome. Can't wait to see you. My name is Lynn. I'm going to have the most fun with you and you're going to love your class, blah, blah, blah. Those personal thank you notes. Okay, putting kids in a photo shoot. I used to just pick kids I thought would be good, who would cooperate. Then I thought it was good marketing. Then One time I looked at the retention on kids who had been in our photo shoots. I looked at it by accident because I looked at these photos. I said, that girl's 2. Oh my God, she's on team now. She's 16. We have really high rate of retention with kids we put in our photo shoots. Now, it could be that we picked kids that we already liked and they were going to stay, but I think there's a correlation between putting kids on your inside team like that and how long they stay. Some stories that I heard as I've asked people why they drop. I always ask them why people stay. These are some quick stories. Someone was new. She asked for 5 makeups. She thought for sure she was going to be scolded by our front desk. She was telling the front desk her kid had an ear problem. These always make me cry. Our front desk girl called her back at night from home and said, I found some ear specialists for you. I wanted to let you know. I've lived here for years. Someone said, I was asked about used mats, and 9 months later, someone called me and said, yeah, I remember you asked about used mats. We just got some new ones. I put some old ones for you out by the Ninja Zone. That mom loved that. Another mom said that Miss Ophi called her and said, we're going to have pre-team tryouts in a few months. Abby's right on the cusp. Come do some extra classes. Abby made the team. The mom said she never would have if she hadn't had that extra help. Jamie, I always use Jamie as an example. Someone invited her to career day. Believe me, it was the last thing that she wanted to do. She showed up at career day at their little preschool, brought mats, and that mom remembered that for years. We had a family of 3 children who were killed in a car accident instantly together, and we created a memorial garden for them. And that mom was incredibly grateful and thankful. Later had 3 other children and has been a customer ever since. Someone just called, someone missed class 3 weeks, and Miss Ophi calls them, and she said, we were just traveling, but it was really, really nice to be missed. We, again, a marketing thing, we put Alice in a poster, great marketing piece. We put it around the gym. Everyone saw Alice, and mom was super, super happy. Jamie showed up dressed as Olaf to someone's Frozen party. We went to a funeral. It was incredibly impactful. And then just someone who sent a note saying, this is our 4th preschool. We know our kid is a piece of work. Thank you for working with him. And then I'm almost done here. Jamie showed up during COVID and did a little drive-by birthday parties. And people still are talking about that. We had fires in our community. This is my kids' neighborhood. This is Courtney's house. We left and went to the local park and hung out here. We ended up having to leave the local park. Now, as you know, California had devastating fires. We offered a fire camp. At first, I put it up for $30. Someone wrote, that bites, as a comment, and he was right. I thought, why are we charging for this? We made it free. It was a nice thing to do. People still talk about it, and we have students who are still enrolled because of that. That was the Orange County fire. Okay, so full circle, here's what we talked about. These are the things that I've learned, and they work for me. I want to encourage you to come to the summit this year. These are the dates. And I know, Pam, I saw your name in there. This is what we're doing with Sweet Peas. We have 100+. We're in 8 countries. And that is the link to this presentation. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was great.
This is the Breakfast Club, helping you own your growth, one morning at a time.